to the fine print, where public image meets public record. I'm Avery Morgan. Tonight, we're looking past the headlines, past the applause, and into the paperwork. You can do what you like but the rest. Tonight is not about telling you how to feel about Al Sharpton. Reverend Al Sharpton, I should say. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to do what we always do, and that's to read the fine print. For decades, whenever race, protest, or controversy hit the news, one name was never too far away, and that was Al Sharpton. To some people, he's a civil rights icon. To others, he's always around when the cameras are. He kept showing up in the headlines. Results never made the front page. And now, somehow, some voices are calling him the new Jesse Jackson. But a lot of people are asking, new Jesse Jackson, based on what? Because being around a long time and building something lasting are not the same.
Try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is they are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
And after his last convention, where a younger activist challenged old leadership on reparations and loyalty, the bigger question came into focus. Is Sharpton still leading, or is he just still there?
So threatening some type of violence, or that you don't play because you're not a punk. Nobody ever said you were a punk. But the fact of the matter is, you got to deal with the fact that you have not produced results and that you might need to let someone else take over the wheel. I'm sorry. I respect my elders. I have a great relationship with older people in general and in our community, and I care about them. But at a certain point, you've been doing this since the 1970s. Maybe take a seat and listen to what people are saying. Listen, instead of trying to make a living off of the work of civil rights and being paid by politicians to do their bidding. You might want to listen more than you talk. That's all I'm saying.
Now, let's be fair. Reverend Al Sharpton, he mattered. He showed up. He stood with families. He brought cameras to stories people wanted to ignore. And sometimes attention matters. Sometimes cameras create pressure. Sometimes pressure creates movement, and that's what's real. This is the strongest case for Sharpton. He knew how to force America to look. But here's the fine print. Making people look, it's not the same as making life better. And for many critics, that gap between visibility and victory is where the real debate begins. So let's talk about that label, the new Jesse Jackson. Sounds official, sounds flattering, but titles are cheap. Legacy costs. Love Jackson or hate him, his era had visible footprints. Presidential runs, mass voter mobilization, coalition building, pressure campaigns. So critics ask, if Sharpton is the heir, where are the landmarks? Where's the signature policy win, the economic institution? Where's the measurable shift tied to his era? Because people today don't want symbolic secession. They want receipts. Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton, he became bigger than an activist. He actually became a symbol. Every time the country had a racial flashpoint, there he was. But symbols don't automatically solve problems. After decades of leadership, branding, many Black communities still deal with, wealth gaps and struggling schools and incarceration disparities and so much more. Now, no serious person is going to be like, okay, yeah, one man can control all of that, because we know that's not the case. But if someone keeps getting introduced as a top leader, people can ask, what's changed? What got built? What got secured? He kept showing up in the headlines, but the results, we never saw them on the front page. Presence deserves credit. Outcomes deserve an audit. Another criticism follows Sharpton's whole career. Did identity become the message? While economics got pushed to the back of the line, to supporters, he fought a real fight for discrimination, and that does matter. But to critics, some say that symbolic fights often got center stage while material issues stayed backstage. Representation got speeches. Ownership got delayed. Recognition, it got airtime. But wealth got postponed. Take debates like the Crown Act. Sharpton, he isn't widely known as the architect for that law, but it does reflect the style of politics many associate with his era, highly visible symbolic justice fights. And critics ask, while we debated hair, who debated land? While we debated image, who debated wealth? Representation, it matters. But representation without redistribution, it gets old fast. The fight, over Sharpton, it may really be a fight over memory. Different generations aren't judging the same man. They're judging different versions of him. Some remember the fiery activist.
Let me say this. When we hear the word today, when we leave here this evening, we are not leaving having had just a rally. We're going home to do some work. You think you see a crowd now, wait till we go home and get our sisters. You think you've seen something now, wait till we go home and get our mothers.
Some remember controversy.
On 99 for about 35,000 a kilo. But I gotta get more than one. Right. If we're gonna do this thing.
No, you're talking about some real.
10 kilograms is like it's 350,000. Let's drop in the bucket. We can go bigger.
Some remember reinvention. Some only knew the TV Sharpton.
You heard me. You have me on tape defending this man. Recently, even after the shenanigans with him and the other soldiers.
That's a lot of crap.
Now, look, brother, you had your time.
That's a lot of crap.
Brother,
and I got
brother,
it.
no,
And I got it.
hell no.
I got it.
Oh, hell no.
I got it.
While others, it was the convention Sharpton. That's why debates about him go nowhere. Everybody's talking about a different era. That man stayed in the headline. That meaning he kept changing. Oh, and then there's the FBI chapter. Public reporting later described Sharpton's cooperation with the federal investigators during organized crime probes in the 1980s. He pushed back on that story and how it was framed, but people noticed the contradiction. The anti-establishment activists meeting establishment paperwork. Then comes the boxing world. Archived reporting revisited a 1983 undercover FBI operation involving efforts to reach Don King. Reports said that Sharpton helped arrange the meeting involving King and Michael Francis. Years later, Francis, he would use a phrase that he said even Sports Illustrated once used, and that was shadow boxing. And that phrase is worth unpacking because we know what shadow boxing is, and it's like punching the air. It looks like a fight. It might sound like a fight, but nothing's actually getting hit.
I was never told I was an informant with a number. So in my own mind, I was not an informant. I was cooperating with investigations. The conversations were recorded, and I would record them today if somebody threatened me.
And politically, critics use it to ask, was the public battle the real battle? Or was it something else happening behind the scenes? Now, let's be honest, movements need organization, staff, security, transportation, media outreach. That part's normal. But critics ask a bigger question. When does activism become an industry? When does outrage become content? When does the cycle become incident? Cameras, speeches, donations, fade out, repeat, do it all again. Maybe nobody was paid to yell, but somebody often get paid when yelling trends. That's the sharper question. And at the recent NAN convention, younger activists challenged old leadership on reparations and automatic party loyalty. And this activist was reportedly dismissed as an actor. Now, let's pause there, because when someone asks, where are the tangibles? And the answer is name calling, people see deflection instead of answering the point. Attack the person. That tactic is old, and younger voters recognize it immediately. When people ask for policy and get public shaming instead, trust is already cracking. This may be the real issue now. A lot of people aren't rejecting Sharpton personally. They're rejecting the old regime. Wait your turn. Vote blue no matter who. Trust the process. Respect your elders. Meanwhile, many younger voters and foundational Black Americans are saying, move aside. We don't need another speech. We need tangibles. We don't need another honorary title. We need ownership. We don't need another spokesperson chosen by TV. We need builders chosen by results. And that's not disrespect. That's secession. And to be fair, Sharpton mattered. He amplified stories. He stood with families. He forced attention, and that's real. But many people now ask whether the praise outgrew the product. Maybe he represented the struggle, but critics say he did far less to resolve it. Maybe he was useful in the moments, but the decades are harder to defend. And maybe that's why he stays controversial. The man stayed in the headlines. The meaning kept changing. And a lot of voters are ready for something new. The cameras, they gave one story. The record, it gave another. Your job is deciding which one carried more weight. These are not my words. These are the images, the headlines, the reactions, and the record. And it's presented for you to judge. You've seen the fine print. Now, has the community decided? Sound off in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Thank you for listening.